got a chance to play in school, a chance to learn the basics of football. And it turned into be a very serious thing, like a lot of things in Texas do, got very serious. Because winning was everything in Texas, especially football. We found out about it after the league had been formed, and the word didn't get around to the Nassau area here. And there was a bunch of kids that really wanted to play. Well, it turns out there was some teams that had heard about it. There was one in Friendswood and one in LaPorte and around the area here. But the kids that age had been through tryout camps, and they had recruiting camps, and they picked their teams, and these organizations were just all set up and everything. Well, there was a bunch of kids left over that didn't get picked and wanted to play football. This organization said, we've got enough equipment, we've got enough pads and helmets and stuff, and we've got one color that hasn't been used yet of the uniform that we've got. He said, if you guys want to take these leftovers and make up a team, you can, and don't feel bad because winning doesn't mean anything, well, it really did. So we said, yeah, we'll do that, and a few of us agreed, somebody would mark the field with a white line each Saturday and each weekend, and somebody would keep score, and somebody it was that kind of a deal. Dean Graham, who was an engineer at NASA, and I agreed that, well, we'd seen football games, played some football, so we didn't really to coach. So we got the announcement out that all of the young guys that hadn't been picked for teams that wanted to play come over to vacant fields over here, and we got enough guys there that we figured we could put together a team. It was kind of a group that you would expect as left. There were skinny little kids, there were some little kids that weren't very skinny, and big kids, little kids, but there wasn't any, you watch them run around the field, you could tell there was not a lot of raw talent. They were not on other teams for a good reason. Now, in all fairness to Pete, some of those kids had just gotten here, just moved into town, and that was the case for Pete, I think. Your family had just moved to Seaford, and the league was already formed. You wanted to play, and your dad wanted you to play, and so you were in that group of guys. And we decided, well, we'll do this. It can't be all that bad. There was going to be a practice game that didn't count in about a week after we got our uniforms. Well, our first week, you can imagine a group like that. You spend a week teaching them how to put on the shoulder pads, and where the pads go in their pants and where they shouldn't go in their pants. And the bar, as Pete reminded me, the bar on the helmet goes in the front. We really didn't get a chance to do much teaching of football that first week, and at the first practice game, kind of an exhibition game now, we really got our tail end kicked, because these other teams have been working together, and they had plays, they had set plays, and we were just out there on the field with 11 kids at one time, sometimes more and sometimes less. So we decided we didn't have the raw talent. We were going to have to start with basics, and that's what we did. We decided that, bless these kids' heart, they didn't see a football for 2 weeks because they were learning how to get down in the stance for defense, how to get in the stance for offense, how the linebackers are supposed to stand, how you take off, how the receivers stand before you go. They were learning those fundamentals and how to block, how to tackle, and just basic fundamentals. They didn't even feel a football. And I think Pete probably got sick and tired of me yelling at him, keep your head up and your butt down. It's the only way to keep from ending up on him. But I tell you, these kids really got with it. And then we started working out on a few plays. And the first game of the season, we actually won. I don't know whether we were playing a very weak team that time or not, Pete, but we actually won the first game, and they were improving on a steep curve. It turned out They went undefeated in this league. These leftovers, and I get a little choked up every time I think of it, because it really was an amazing thing. They were, in fact, a bunch of ragtag kids, that all sizes and everything, didn't know anything about football. Most of them didn't. And then they went undefeated during the season. I remember, in fact, Pete played running back, and what'd you play on defense, Pete? Because you played both.
Linebacker.
Yeah, that's what I thought. You were a linebacker. Yeah. And I remember you're supposed to try and get all the kids in the game so everybody got a chance to play. Well, these guys, that was not a problem, because these guys started running up a score like you wouldn't believe, and holding the other team scoreless. I remember one game, fairly near the end of the season, I had sent in a new defensive unit, and Pete came out, and he was sitting on the bench, just looking really, really dejected. And gosh, we had a tremendous lead built up. In fact, the other team hadn't scored. In fact, Pete's long face, I found out, was because I said, "Well, Pete, what's wrong?" He said, "We let him get a first down." I can't imagine how satisfying it was to watch young guys work together. I mean, they worked as a team. They were really working as a team. In fact, they won the league, and we were notified that we were going to get to play in the post-game series, which they call the Super Bowl. But actually, it was a big deal, because we played with Port, I believe it was, and we played in Rice Stadium. And I'll tell you, that was a big thrill for me. Even though there were a few seats left after the crowd woke up. There were 43 or 44 parents, and that was it. but it was really a sight to see these guys in Rice Stadium. In fact, I like to think that maybe it influenced Pete to want to go back to Rice and play basketball there. I think he did. But that season showed me what getting motivated and dedicated and learning the basics of what you really need to do can do for a bunch of folks. Whether that's us here today or 10-year-olds playing football. My son was on that team. Greg Grimm was on the team. Rob Larson was center. And they've all gone. John, Pete went to Clear Lake. John went to Clear Creek. He went to Rice. John went to Kansas. And they went their separate ways afterwards. He went to Rice, got his undergraduate degree, and then he went to University of Texas for his law degree. And as soon as he got his law degree, he took the oath of a naval aviator and started his quest toward becoming a naval aviator and getting those cherished wings of gold. Now, I'm an Air Force guy. I wear silver wings. But I know what the wings of gold mean to a naval aviator, and I tell you, they're very proud of it, and they very well should be, because that's a real tribute to earn those wings. Well, about 20 years after the football season, Pete and John, my son, they found themselves again on the same team. They were wearing green again. This time it was an olive drab green. They were both involved in Desert Storm. Pete was flying P-3Cs, patrol bombers, over the Persian Gulf, enforcing sanctions. John was flying an A-10, and they won that game too. The rest of this that I could talk about, Pete, I think, again, now I'm getting into what I started to tell you about first. You can read it on Google. Pete had a tour in the Pacific where his crew was named the Outstanding Patrol Crew in the Pacific Theater. He was assigned to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. That's no big small deal either. And then the Naval Liaison Officer to the U.S. Senate. And then from there, you got Senator Graham, Senator Cornyn, Chief of Staff for Senator Cornyn, and then, as you all know, elected to the 111th Congress. Pete's had an amazing, amazing career, and he's really, really young too. So be nice to him. Be gentle. But this guy is someone who I am proud, and I think we all should be very, very proud that we have put him in Congress to represent us. So if you would, please join me in welcoming your congressman and mine, Congressman Pete Olson.